All right, I think we are live. What is going on, everybody? There it is, says it right there. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Camden Chat each and every Monday at 6 p.m. I think that's where we're going to keep it for now. We're going to talk all things Orioles. We're going to talk baseball, around the major leagues, some minor league stuff, but mostly about these guys right here, the Baltimore Orioles. As you may or may not already know. What's up, Mike? Mike Beachman, welcome in. Debbie Bernfeld, welcome in. I am a huge Orioles fan, born and bred from Baltimore. I now live in Central Florida, but I am born and bred an Orioles fan. I love the Orioles very, very much. Paul Engel is here as well. What's up, Paul? Welcome in, my friend. Good to have you. I appreciate the support, everybody. We are just literally getting started with this new channel called the Birdland Network. I literally posted our first video about a week ago. We'll get into scheduling and content and things of that nature down the road. But tonight was about getting our first live stream on the air, up and running, for us to talk all things Orioles and baseball each and every Monday at 6 p.m. That's where we'll leave it for now. Our aspect of how we'll do this, 820 Chief, welcome in, Dan. Good to see you. How we'll do this is we'll talk a little minor leagues. Obviously, we'll focus mainly on the major league side of the things for the Orioles, and then we'll talk some other baseball news too. Anything that's newsworthy that needs to be talked about, we'll definitely talk about it. And we have some stuff to talk about tonight in reference to that. Again, every Monday at 6 o'clock for now. That's where we're going to have it. For those that don't know, and there's not a lot of you in here, don't expect a lot of people right now. We're just growing, but I appreciate the support. Chris, what's up, buddy? Welcome in. We also have every Thursday at 9 a.m. we post our Hall of Fame profile. I have over 2 years worth of profiles already scheduled and ready to go. I posted a few of them early just to kind of get the ball rolling. If you haven't already gone over and checked them out, please do so. They're a lot of fun, very informative. And don't just watch the ones for the guys you know. Watch some of the ones of some of these folks that you may not know, because it's very interesting. As I've produced and created these profiles, I've learned a lot about players I didn't even know or heard of. And as I got to learn their information, I was like, wow, how about that? So check out those Hall of Fame profiles every Thursday at 9. I think you'll enjoy them. I really enjoyed producing them and bringing them together. I think you guys will too. Chris Slemmer's here. Welcome in, buddy. Hey, Molly. Hi, Molly. Welcome in. Jeannie's here as well. My longtime friends, thank you all for being here with this. Again, we're just getting started, so we got a lot of tweaking, fine-tuning to do as time goes on. But we also have another show that'll be coming up down the road. I want to kind of get the schedule going. Something called The Greatest, which I'm hoping to do each and every week. I don't have a date or time just yet of when that's going to start, where we will talk about the greatest players of all time. It might be a player from a team. It might be a player from a position. It might be a manager. It might be an era of baseball. It might be the greatest play, the greatest manager. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to not so much debate it, because who the greatest is always a subjective thing. Who I think is the greatest might not be the same for you. And that's part of why we do this. And I think baseball is the one sport out of all the sports that you can really have those conversations and have legitimate arguments. And I'll have friends join us each and every week. Some will be regular, some will be every once in a while, to go over these types of arguments over the greatest. So that's going to be coming as well. That'll be a live stream. I'm also going to be doing, as the season starts, every single day, every single game, when the game ends, either the next day or later that day, I will be posting a vlog of my review of the game for the Orioles. So there will be 162 of them coming this year alone. So we'll be talking briefly. It'll be a short video, just to go over a recap of the game, what my thoughts are on the game and all that as well. So it's going to be lots of content coming. Jeff Snook's here. Welcome in, Jeff. Good to see you. And Victor's here as well. Welcome in, Victor. So let's get started. I wanted to talk a little bit first and foremost about the Orioles. We're going to start with our minor league report. For those that don't know, for the Orioles, Chris, you're a big Orioles fan. Paul Engel's a big Orioles fan as well. Mike T, welcome in. I left stuff on the walls. Thank you. Yes, this is all, again, this is our first stream, so we're just getting started. But it's all a lot of Disney content down there. I'm in Central Florida. We're big Disney fans as well. But Minor league report: the Orioles minor league AAA affiliate Norfolk won the minor league organization of the year. Now, for those that don't know, they won the entire league. They won the minor league championship. Of course, the Orioles have had the #1 farm system for the last 4 years. I think it is 3 years, 4 years. A plethora of players have come and gone from AAA that have just made it fantastic. Whether it be Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Cedric Mullins went through there. Austin Hayes went through there. You've got Colton Cowser. You've got Kobe Mayo, Connor Norby. You got this other guy. I think his name is Jackson Holliday. You may have heard of him. So they won the minor league organization of the year, which I thought was fantastic. I think that's the first time they've actually won that award as well. Welcome in, Kay Wilby. I'm a baseball fan of Red Sox. Well, I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot of Red Sox baseball as well. Thank you, Mike. Yes, I'm glad you do. Thank you for watching this every Sunday. This is just my venture that I'm doing outside of the Disney venture. I really have a passion for baseball. Chris has known me for 30 years now. He'll tell you how much of a passion I have for it. Chris and I both used to have season tickets with the Orioles. So we've gone to tons of games, been to playoffs games, been to all spring training games, which I'll be doing again this year as well. So I consider myself pretty knowledgeable on the world of baseball, and especially the Orioles. So we're glad to have you here. Shout out to any of your friends if they're big baseball fans. If there is anybody local in Baltimore, or even just around the country or the world that's an Orioles fan that maybe moved away from Baltimore, you're always welcome here. We do keep it family friendly, folks. That's very, very important. Oh, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. Well, you know what, Victor? It's funny you talk about that. I don't know. The Mets, I think, really underachieved. I think they really rolled the dice when it came to Scherzer and Verlander and what they expected from them. Older players who I think are pretty much past their prime, and they just didn't get what they expected to get from them. They're also in a really tough division. I mean, they have the Atlanta Braves to deal with alone, and the Phillies, 2 top-tier organizations that are going to be there again this year. So I don't know that they're going to have – they did this year. They did have a bad season. They've really, really underplayed from what a lot of people expected. But I think they'll have a little bit of a bounce back. They're just in a really tough division, just like the Orioles. Kelsey Elizabeth, there's another Maryland girl. Welcome in, Kelsey. Good to see you. But I did want to touch on a few things about the Orioles. First and foremost, I want to get into the big thing. The Orioles finally signed the lease agreement. So they will be in Baltimore for another 30 years. It wasn't just that memorandum of agreement. They actually have signed the paperwork now. So they are in. They will get their, I think, $600 million from the state of Maryland for renovations and upgrades to the park. So that's a big weight, especially for us fans, lifted. Because I've been worried. I know everybody was like, they're not going to leave Baltimore. And you're right. I didn't think they were, but you still had that little inkling of worry that you just never know. But they finally signed the agreement. Wes Moore, I think, is the name of the governor over there now. He finally signed it with the owner of the Orioles. The state signed. So we're all good to go there. I'm sure they'll make some upgrades to the stadium. The video monitor, the video board and all that, in my opinion, has been there since day one. Definitely has to be upgraded. They have to upgrade the video quality. Videos, that whole scoreboard, I know it's been there a very long time. I think it needs to be replaced. I think it needs to be upgraded. And David, Chris, Paul, you guys are all Maryland men. You've gone to the games. Let me know what you think in the chat. But I think that is one of the main things right off the bat that they need to address is the video quality. The audio, too. The entire audio and video system in the stadium needs to be addressed. David Stevens, good to have you here. Welcome in. Boogs is really nice. Actually, Boogs has been there a very good long time. I've met Boog on many occasions going out there. Chris has been there with me. My son, we've gone out there. We've gotten there a pit beef from him. Really nice guy, class act. And the pit beef is phenomenal. But he has turkey, pit beef, tons of things. And he's really grown over the years. There's Melissa. There's my better half in here as well. Yeah, I think so, Paul. I really think if there's one thing they really need to put, now it's not all $600 million, but I think that's one of the first priorities of their upgrade to the stadium. Now that they have this money, is the audio and the video quality. They just have to. It needs it really, really bad. For the premier stadium that really started all these throwback stadiums, This is the one that needs it needs work. Last year they did the wall in left field, which I think was a great addition. I know we didn't hit as many home runs, and I don't know that Ryan Mountcastle and Austin Hayes are happy about it, but I really think it helped the pitchers. That was taken care of last year. This year, it's got to be the audio and the video, and I'm sure they'll address some other stuff like seating and things like that. And there might be some big changes coming to the stadium. Yeah, and that's the thing. And Victor, that's the point. I think the Orioles know that. They will. They'll get it done. From growing up to Memorial Stadium to Camden Yards, it's just like a dropping. It really is. I mean, I've been to several stadiums. I've been to Boston. I've been to Fenway. I've now been to Tampa's. I've been out there as well. I've been to National Stadium in Washington, D.C., which is a really nice stadium. But ours still sets the mark. It sets the standard. So, again, the lease agreement is done. Great news for the Orioles. That's no longer any kind of weight that they have to worry about to look over their shoulders. The Orioles, the fans, it's done, which I think is great. Of course, the Orioles signed Craig Kimbrell to a 1-year contract with a clause for a second year. This is a big signing for the Orioles as well because, of course, as you guys know, or may not know, they lost their main closer, Felix Bautista, to Tommy John surgery. So he's out for all of 2025. He will not pitch this year. So they don't have a legitimate closer. Now, they have Yennier Cano, but I think he's better suited as a setup man. And I think the Orioles agree, and that's why they're going to make him the closer, Kimbrell, to start. Now, he didn't have a good ending to the season. Chris, you're a big Phillies fan. He didn't. He kind of laid an egg in the playoffs for the Phillies this year. But I still think he's got something in the tank. I really do. And I think he's going to be a big help to the Orioles. If nothing else, he's going to really stabilize that back end. And if he doesn't, then he doesn't. Then you've only got him for the 1 year. You put him in another role, and then you cut bait at the end of the year. It's just that simple. Because they have options here when it comes to this. But I think it sets the bullpen up better with Kimbrell as the closer, Yennier Cano, Cionel Perez as your setup guys, maybe even DL Hall coming out of the bullpen with his arm and the stuff he has. They really can shorten some games. They really, really can. So I like the signing. I really do. And I don't know, Chris. I still think, again, I think he may be at that point, but the Orioles are going to look at him as their closer this year. They really are. And it's a big responsibility. This is a team that won 101 games last year. They won the American League East. They made it to the playoffs. Teams, they're expecting to win. And teams have they have a mark on the Orioles. The Orioles have a target on them this year. So he's going to be in a lot of games, a lot of close games. I don't think the Orioles are going to be a team that's going to just crush teams. I really don't. But I think they're going to be a lot of close games, and Kimbrell's really going to be relied upon. But they do have options if necessary. So I like the Kimbrell signing. I just think it helps set up that bullpen. And if he's successful, wow, the Orioles could really, really shorten some games and really make this a really fun season if they can get to that point. So I like the Kimbrell signing. I still think there's some talk out there of some other relief bullpen people that they're looking into. They actually signed a couple other guys that they've given minor league deals to and invites to spring training. We'll see how that goes. You know the old saying, you never have enough pitching. And I agree. I agree 100%. Folks, I want to ask while I got a minute, how's my audio? I know video looks pretty good. How's the audio? Can you guys hear me well? I have the mic down here. I want to make sure you can hear me. I don't know, Chris. I don't know if he'll be ultimately. Cano worries me. He had the breakout year last year with the Orioles, but there was a reason why he was designated for assignment or given, as part of a throw-in for a trade with the Orioles. He worries me. He's had good times, but we'll see what Cano has to offer. We'll see. I like Kimbrell, but I think your rotation is shaky. Means coming back. Here's the thing, Mike. We're going to get into the rotation in a little bit because I've actually got some numbers that I think fans need to really look at when it comes to the rotation of the Orioles. Thank you. Okay, just want to make sure the audio is good. But we'll get to that. So we talked about the Kimbrell signing. We talked about the lease agreement. But the other big thing for the Orioles next year is arbitration. they have a ton of arbitration cases looming. Now, a couple of them they took care of. They signed, who did they sign? I think they signed Jorge Mateo and Ryan McKenna, who were two of them. They've signed them to 1-year deals. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make the team, but they are signed. But they have, I think it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 more players that are arbitration eligible this year for the Orioles. Now, what that basically means for those that don't know is arbitration is this. The Orioles will come to the player and say, this is how much we're offering. The player gives their number. So each side gives a number of the salary for next year. It then goes to an arbitrator. If they can't agree, because a lot of times a player will say, I want $5 million, and the team will say, well, I'm giving you 3.5. And then before the arbitration hearing, they might come to an agreement at 4. Okay, great. But if they can't come to that agreement, then the two sides state their case to an arbitrator, and then the arbitrator picks a winner. It's that simple. The issue with arbitration is this. It can sometimes lead to bad blood. Because remember, each side's trying to win. So the team is going to go into this saying, hey, this is what he doesn't do well, and that's why we're offering this. Whereas the player's going to say, this is what I do well, and that's why I want this. So arbitration can be kind of weird. I'm not a big fan of it. I really hope the Orioles can get some of these players signed, but I'll give you the list of players and what they're projected. This is from Fangraphs, I think, or MLB Trade Rumors, what they're expected to get as a raise or somewhere around that. So the first big name is Anthony Santander. He made $7.4 million last year with the Orioles. They're expecting a 12.7. So he's going to go from 7.4 to 12.7 million. Danny Colom's going to go from 1 million to 2.2. John Means is going to go from 2.97 to 5.93. I don't really know where they get these numbers. Ryan O'Hearn is one of the bigger jumps. He's going to go from like 1.4 to 6.4. Austin Hayes, 3.2 million to 6.1 million. Dylan Tate's going to stay around the same. Ryan Mountcastle is going to go from 738,000 to about 4.2 million. Cionel Perez and Cole Irvin, both making 730,000, going to go from like 1.3 to 1.8. Brandon Webb's going to go from 720,000 to 1.3 million. Ramon Urias from 734,000 to 2 million, and Tyler Wells from 730,000 to about 2.3 million. The one thing about arbitration is players always get a raise. They never go backwards. It's always a raise. So no matter what, they're making more than they made the year before. But the point of this is these are big numbers that could lead to like $30 million more dollars on the books for the Orioles. And that's just in arbitration, right around there. But I hope that they come to agreements with some of these players. We'll see what happens. There's been trade rumors about Anthony Santander being packaged for pitching. I think you could say the same for some of these other players. But arbitration is looming. I'm sure as time goes on and the weeks go on, we'll start to hear more of this. The Orioles will allow those players to come to camp. They'll do what's called a sign and go kind of thing, where they will let them in there until the arbitration hearing is done. I hope they get a lot of these guys signed before arbitration because I don't want bad feelings. Because it happens. It happens for sure. Yeah, big salary jumps for sure. Scott Takao, welcome in, buddy. I didn't get the notification. I'll recheck my settings. Oh, no problem. I'm just glad you're here. Yes. Chris says, hey, I know everyone talks about a salary cap in baseball, but I think they should have a minimum team salary. I don't know, Chris. I don't know. I think it's worked to some teams' favor. I guess maybe. I could see what you're saying. I don't know. I think there should be a salary cap, but we can get into that in another stream. You know what? Actually, Jeff, that's a good question. I think they actually, there are some deferments that they're making with them. I don't think he might be off the books this year. I think this might be the last year. I know Bobby Bonilla is off the books in a couple more years. I think they're still paying Bonilla. He might be off the books by now. But that deferment thing, it's funny you talk about that, Jeff, because I actually like the deferral plan for players because it gives my team right now the opportunity to go out and get more players. I mean, the Dodgers did it with Shohei Ohtani, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. I mean, he's making like $2 million a year. I think of his $700 million, 640 of it is deferred. He's not really making a big annual salary to start. But the Dodgers, for like 20 years after he's done, are going to be paying him for a long time. So I like the deferral in that respect. I think it's a win-win. I don't know what everybody in the chat thinks. Let me know what you think in the chat. I like that they defer the money. I like it. It's just my opinion. I think it's a win-win for both teams. It gives us a chance to say, okay, I'm going to pay you $500 million, but 400 of the 500, I'm going to pay you over the next 20 years, starting in 5 years. So it gives you that window to go out and get more players with these contracts. I like it. I like it a lot. It's part of the issue that we have with the sport. You have your haves and your have-nots when it comes to the money side of things. You know, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Mets, the Angels. These teams, even the Giants to a lesser extent, can go out and spend that money because they have it. They have it. You know, the Yankees make like $1 billion almost every year from the Yes Network alone. That's just from the Yes Network. That's not even what they make from Fox or the Friday night game of the week on Apple. It's crazy. Deferred contracts are bad, in my opinion. What prevents a team of Benias? Well, I see. I agree, but if both players come to that agreement, at some point, you're going to have to pay the piper. So for those teams, if they get that break, like the Dodgers, okay, so they're getting that break right now for 5 years before, I think it's 5 years, and you guys can correct me in the chat. And so many, they're going to have to start paying the piper. So I get it. Bad contracts kill disparity. I agree. I don't disagree with you, Mike. But there's bad contracts everywhere. Even the Orioles, who don't spend a lot of money, have made. I mean, Chris Davis. Even if the money's not deferred, that's a bad contract. The Mike Hampton contract to Colorado, that's a bad contract. That's just two of them off the top of my head. Bad contracts happen for every team. So I don't know that it necessarily kills disparity. What I don't like about baseball is you're paid for what you've done. What I need to be paying you for is what I expect you to do in the future. And they're not always the same thing. Yeah, the Albert Bell contract, that's another one. I mean, there's been so many bad contracts in baseball. Really, there are. Yeah, there you go. So there you go. That's some of the arbitration issues coming up. So we were talking, somebody talked about starting pitching, and I want to kind of go over this because I think it's a really good point. The Orioles, as you know, a lot of people are saying, someone in the chat has already said it, that the Orioles are suspect in the starting pitching department. Here's what I'll say about that. Delve deep into the numbers, because when someone tells me that, I'm looking at the numbers for the Orioles this year in starting pitching, okay? And I want to throw some things out there. The Orioles were 5th in the American League in team pitching. 5th. In all of the American League, they were 5th. They had a 3.89 team ERA. Team ERA. That was 5th in the American League, and it was 7th in all of baseball. So they were in the top echelon. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, well, that's basically on the bullpen. It is, but it isn't. Most of your innings are still by your starters. And remember, Dean Kramer, Kyle Bradish, and Grayson Rodriguez all pitched to an ERA under 3.5 in the second half of the season for the Orioles. John Means, when he came back, pitched to an ERA under 3.5 as well. And they all won many games for the Orioles. And this is where, for 3 players of the 4 who everybody thought they're well over their innings limit from what they've ever pitched in their career, they're going to break down. They didn't. And they pitched even better in the second half, and they were able to take on the workload. I tend to pump the brakes on saying the Orioles need a huge starter. I think they have them. The only thing they don't have is a track record for these guys. Grayson's only in year 2 now. Kyle Bradish has he really broken out? I get it. He's not a name, but everybody has to start somewhere. You're not a name until you're a name, and you have to make that name. And I think they're doing that. I think John Means is a number 3 starter behind Grayson and Kyle Bradish, because I put him ahead of Dean Kramer. I think that's a really good rotation. That being said, do they need another starter? It doesn't hurt. Welcome in. What's up, Eric? Welcome in. Hey, Walt, do you prefer a trade for Cease or a trade for Burns? I like the way Burns would benefit from Oriole Park at dimensions. The Rangers used it against us in the playoffs last year. I like the dimensions. Look, there's plenty of ways to win games. The Rangers hit home runs because we made bad pitches and they capitalized on them. But starting that, if I have to choose a starting pitcher, because I do still think that you never have enough pitching, and I get it. But then we have Tyler Wells as well. We also have DL Hall. There's Chase McDermott down in the minor leagues who's coming, who a lot of people probably don't know about. If the Orioles start the season with what they have, I'm not going to be as up in arms as everybody else. I think there's really good pitching there. The Texas Rangers, I think, were middle of the pack or lower of the pack in pitching, and they won the World Series. It's about getting hot at the right time. Over the course of 162 games, the Orioles were the 5th best in the American League in pitching, 7th best in all of baseball. The numbers don't lie. That's just my opinion. Kimbrel, hey, Heidi, he did choke in the playoffs. But again, and that's a good point. It's funny you said that. I'm going to get to Eric's question in a minute about who I would choose, because I still think the Orioles I do think they need a start. Don't base everything on playoffs and postseason. It's a small sample size. Jordan Montgomery, who had a great postseason for the Texas Rangers, is going to get paid because he had a good postseason. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to the regular season again this year. How many times have we seen players have great postseasons and then get paid because of it, and then they're average at best the rest of the time? So that goes both ways. He did choke in the playoffs, but many people have choked in the playoffs. Look at Clayton Kershaw in the playoffs. He's never really had a good playoffs. He's always choking in the playoffs. Would I take him on my team? Yeah, I probably would. Maybe not now, but I get it. Oh, no, Heidi, that's great. I totally get it. It's good that you're a Red Sox fan. That's great. We want everybody in here. We're glad you're here. You know what, Chris? I worry sometimes about left-handed closers. There aren't that many of them. His stuff is good enough to close. I think he might become that down the road. We'll see. Mike says the biggest issue for the Orioles will be locking up the young talent. They should be looking at long-term deals with Gunnar Holiday as you can get hometown discounts. That's a really good. That's a whole nother stream. And Mike, you're 110% correct on that. They should already be locking some of these players up. But I want to get back to Eric. Eric, if I had to choose between the two, I'm going to take Corbin Burns because I think he's just the better pitcher. I think his track record is better. If you look at Dylan Cease at the end of last year, he really didn't pitch well. I think he pitched to a 4.5 ERA last year. I tend to worry. Is the stuff there? Yes. But I don't know. I would take either one. But if I had to choose, I think I'm going to take Corbin Burns. The issue is, I think Burns is going to be a bigger package of players that they're going to ask for. I mean, the White Sox are asking for a ton already, but Burns is going to require even more. And look, we have a plethora of position players, but you got to be careful with that because pitchers don't always, I don't know. There's very few that are phenomenal all the time. Garrett Cole comes to mind. We'll see. Yeah, exactly. Burns will cost you. Hey, Wendy, welcome in. Is this the Tiddlywinks Club chat? No, it's not. Well, welcome in. Good to have you here. Burns will cost the Orioles, and I really don't think they're going to pay it. I don't. I think they might wait. Be honest with you guys, I wouldn't be surprised if the Orioles actually wait to the trade deadline to make a trade. I really do. I think that they might do that. We'll see. We still got a month and a half before the season starts. We don't have to have these trades before spring training. Sometimes these trades happen in the middle of spring training. We will see. But anyway, I think their pitching is better than people are giving it credit for. I just don't think they have a track record. I don't know. I think they're pretty good. I think they're better than people are giving them credit for. The next topic I want to talk about is the Orioles, how they're going to handle their excess outfielders this year, because they have a plethora of outfielders. Now they have the three mainstays in Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Anthony Santander. But you've got Heston Kjerstad, who's got to play. You've got Colton Cowser, who, I'm sorry, he had a small sample size up here. He didn't do well, and they sent him back down. But I think the kid can rake. I think he's going to be a really good player. You have those two guys alone that need to find playing time on this field. That's just two guys off the top. You've still got Ryan McKenna as your utility guy. These guys have to find playing time. I don't know what the Orioles are going to do because you can't have that many bench players. But Kjerstad and even Colton Cowser doesn't have anything left to prove in the minor leagues. So either you have to make trades or you've got to find positions for these players. Now, Kjerstad, he might translate to a DH type, first base type. We'll see. But the Orioles don't like to lock one guy in as DH. They like that flexibility. They like to be able to rotate people, put Mountcastle there for a while, put Adley there for a while, put Santander there for a while, and let other players rotate in and out at other positions. So they've got to find a way to give at bats to Cowser and Kjerstad. They have to be on this team. They have to make room for them. Neither one of them need to be in the minor leagues. I personally think that if Heston Kjerstad is on this team, he's going to have about 280. I like these two players. I think they have immense talent. And I know I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here. Austin Hayes, he can't put together a full season. He always starts strong and then he fades. I know he's good defensively, but his power numbers and his power numbers and his run production numbers have diminished. I don't know. He may be, if I have to choose one first, he may be the one that, to me, may have to step aside for one of these guys. I'd like to know what you guys in the chat think, especially those that are big Orioles fans and what you've seen. And let me know. Chris said, I think you get something from Mullins, and that gives you playing time for the kids. The issue with Mullins is he's a pure center fielder, Chris, and he can steal bases. He can run. I tend to want to keep him a little bit more because of that aspect. We really don't have a pure center fielder right now. Now, Enrique Bradfield Jr. is coming, but he's still in I think, Double-A ball. He's going to be a couple more years away. You know, Austin Hayes can be replaced right away. I'm sorry. I feel that way. I think Cowser can play a left field like him. Maybe not as good, but I think what he can make up for in batting is just my opinion. I foresee him heading elsewhere for a starting pitcher. Yeah, and that's, Mike, that's a good point because of the contract alone of what he's going to be making money-wise. I think that's a very good possibility. Although I think he had an excellent year defensively last year in the field. No, Santander cannot play center field at all, Victor. He just doesn't have the range for it. No, he wouldn't be able to play that position at all. I'll be honest with you, his right field days, in the next couple of years, his right field days are probably going to be over as well. His mobility as he gets older is waning a little bit. The current outfield is too streaky. We need more consistency. Eric, that's a good point. And that's the other issue. And I don't know if the issues for Cedric Mullins is the fact that, you know, he was hurt twice this year with his quads, his legs, and that's his biggest asset is his legs, defensively and offensively. But you're right. There was a lot of streakiness to this team. Santander, most of all, look what he did. He had in the playoffs. I don't think he got a hit in the playoffs. He went like 9-10 at bats in the playoffs without a hit. And during the season, it's very streaky. I think your point is well made. I do too, Jeff. If he's healthy, I think teams are going to look at that. After his 30-30 season, again, here's a guy, if you look at Mullins, his numbers had declined. Now, part of that is injury, but that's something teams are going to look into. Is this a guy that's no longer going to be healthy for us? And if you're not healthy, you can't produce. So how much are they going to expect from him? And what exactly are you going to get back? You know, it's not going to be Cedric Mullins alone. It's got to be a Cedric Mullins and maybe a Colton Cowser or a Heston Kjerstad and maybe a Chase McDermott, I hate to say it, to Milwaukee for Corbin Burns. They're going to want more than just him. And he's not even really going to be a centerpiece, I don't think. I think he's going to be just an addition. Well, but Chris, that's the thing. And I get your point, but he shouldn't be wearing out. He's a professional baseball player who's supposed to take 600 bats. and he shouldn't wear down. And they get breaks. This isn't Cal Ripken anymore where they play every day. These guys get off days. So he shouldn't wear down. He shouldn't. And if he does, then in my opinion, and again, I know I'm being harsh, if you're going to wear down, then I don't need you to be a starter. Next question. Two more guys for today. The next one, this is the big one. Jackson Holliday. Of course, he's the number one prospect in baseball. He went from low single A all the way up to AAA in the same season, all at the ripe age of 19. He just turned 20 in December. He is the number one prospect. He hit like 338 throughout the minor leagues last year. One of the biggest ascensions ever to move that quickly. Does he make the opening day roster for the Orioles? And if he does, is it a good thing that he makes the roster? So in my humble opinion, I think that he does not make the – I don't know. I'm really tough on this because where do you put him? Are you going to put him at short or are you going to put him at second? You have Jordan Westburg at second right now, who had a really nice year, and I think he's going to get 350 to 400 bats this year. Are you going to – where are you putting him? I think, unlike Gunnar, who I think this kind of hurts him, not offensively, but like Gold Glove awards, Gunnar keeps going from short to third. I understand the flexibility of that, but I really like the idea of one guy being, you're the third baseman, end of story. Go rake. Go get a Gold Glove. You don't have to worry about short. You're the third baseman. Or vice versa. You're the shortstop. Go rake. Nothing to worry about. If we need you at third, the flexibility is there. But not every other day. Short, third, short, third, short, third. I don't like that. I like flexibility to an extent. Brooks Robinson, third base, end of story. Cal Ripken, shortstop, end of story. Bobby Grich, second base. Eddie Murray, first base. That was it. They knew it. Al Bunbury, Paul Blair, center field. Have at it. I think there's something to be said for that. I do like the flexibility, but I really like the idea of a guy saying, you know what? End of story. This is where you are. Be here. I hope so, Eric. I hope he, we'll see what he does. They need help in some ways. Got to give him every chance to excel. He starts AAA for service time issues where he plays. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think he makes opening day, but he'll be up before May 1st, if I had to guess. I think they signed Chapman for third base, Holiday at shortstop, Gunnar at second, Mountcastle at first. I don't think they're going to sign Chapman. I really don't see that. Maybe, Mike. I don't know. I don't see them signing Matt Chapman. I don't. I don't see them going that route. I don't think they're worried about their offensive side of things. I know that they like bringing in those players, those veteran players, but Chapman's going to require a lot of money and a big contract, and I just don't see them doing it. But I think Jackson Holliday, the only reason why I hesitate is because, like everybody's saying, there's a plethora of position players on this team. Where's Joey Ortiz going to play? He should be on this team too. But talent wins out. And if Holliday rakes during spring training, if he just absolutely mashes and he rakes, if he's hitting 360, 370 with 5 or 6 home runs, and he's just, he's having good at bats, he's not striking out, and he's showing them, I'm ready to go, he's going to make the team. It's that simple. But if he's somewhat borderline, struggling a little bit, still playing well, hitting about 280, 290 during spring training, having a couple of bad at bats, looking over matches from time to time, but then crushes a few really nice doubles or home runs, they may send him down just to say a little bit more tweaking, a little bit more. So it's hard for me to say. And is it a bad thing if he makes the opening day roster? Absolutely not. This kid is cut from a different mold. He's been around baseball his entire life. His father was a Major League Baseball superstar as well. Not a Hall of Famer, but a really good player. So he's been in the locker rooms. He's been around baseball. It doesn't faze him. He doesn't have that deer in the headlights look when he gets on a Major League Baseball field. He's been there. He's done that. He knows what it's like. So if he makes the team, I think it'll be a good thing. And the lineup that the Orioles could possess if they have him on that team: Cedric Mullins, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westburg, Anthony Santander, Jackson Holliday, Jordan Westberg, Austin Hayes at the end of the lineup. Man, they could. Ryan Mountcastle. I mean, they could really have a heck of a lineup. They really, really could. Yeah, we'll see. Any fear that players are going to fall back? Always. We'll see what Gunnar Henderson does in his second full season. Could he have some sophomore slump stuff? Sure, he could. But again, it's raw talent. There's certain things about it that I'm going to, we'll see. Because, the Orioles have already had it. Mountcastle, his first year, set a rookie record for the Orioles with home runs. I think he beat Eddie Murray or Cal Ripken's record. He's fallen off. Same with Hayes, same with Mullins. So they've all fallen off to an extent. But we'll see. I don't know. Gunnar would be the only one to me that I could see falling off at all. But even him, I don't think he'll. I really don't. I have my own. I have my predictions. My what I like to call my what did I call it? My bold predictions for 2024 season. I'm not going to give them away today, but they're coming. And then the last question for the Orioles: the realistic expectations for 2024. Regression. I think a lot of people thought they were going to regress last year from their 83 wins. They actually won 101 games. I don't think they're going to win 100 games again this year. I don't. I think the East is going to be better. I think the Yankees are going to be a little bit healthier. Teams are going to make moves. I still think they're going to win 90-something games, high 90s, 96, 97. I don't think they'll win 100 games. I think there'll be some more players that are going to have breakouts. I think DL Hall is going to have a really big year. I think John Means is going to have a big year. I do. I really think he's going to be big this year for the Orioles. And I think they're going to make the playoffs. So they're going to win the division? I don't know. It's such a tough division, and it's so hard to win back-to-back division titles. It's been a while since it's even happened. I'm not going that high just yet. But I think the season I think they're going to be a playoff team for sure. I think they're going to have another great year. I think it's going to be exciting to watch. Other than that, guys, I think that's going to do it for today. We'll get into some more baseball news itself. Obviously, we could talk about the Dodgers and the tons of money they spent this year. Unfortunately, Wander Franco is back in the news, not for good things. He didn't show up for a meeting he was supposed to have with investigators. I don't think he's ever coming back to baseball, personally. But we'll have plenty to talk about. They think they're going to finish third. They might. I mean, you never know. If they finish third, they won't make the playoffs, and I don't see that happening. I think they're too good to not make the playoffs. But anyway, guys, that's our show for today. If you guys do have questions for me, we do have a mailbag. Send your questions to Camden Questions, just like Camden Yards, CAMDEN, Camden Questions @gmail.com. Camden Questions @gmail.com. I'll check them, and each week at the end of the episode, I'll go in. I'll get the questions ready, and we will answer those questions each and every week. Camden Questions @gmail.com. And I did not put it in my banners. I should have. So if one of my mods could share that out. It's Camden Questions @gmail.com. Just send me any questions you might have about the Orioles, baseball. We'll do our best to answer them each and every week at the end of the episode. But there you go, guys. That's our first episode. I'm so happy with the turnout today. We had over 20-something people in here. That's amazing. I'm so happy, and I'm so grateful and thankful. I appreciate everybody. This is always going to be family-friendly. It's always going to be respectful. So if you're coming in here, please keep it respectful. That's going to be very, very important. I'll wear my Mets hat. Mets, Kelsey, we got to talk, girl. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us. I really enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next Monday for more Orioles talk and baseball talk. Be sure to check out our Thursday Hall of Fame profiles. And until then, go Orioles and take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you soon.